Greetings, my beautiful lovelies. It's Emmy. How are you? It's great to see you and welcome back. Today I'm going to be making flour soup, also known as toasted flour soup, toast flour soup. It goes by many different names in many different countries, but I would imagine that this recipe came from hard times because the main ingredient is flour. You can use stock if you have it. You can use water. Today I'm going to be using milk, and I got my recipe from this book, the Mennonite Community Cookbook. This book was given to me by Sarah. Sarah, thank you so much. There are so many wonderful recipes in this book, and all the recipes are attributed. It has the person's name and where they're from. I love those kinds of cookbooks. And when I was reading the soup section, I came across this recipe right here. Toast flour soup. Very, very simple. It's from Mrs. David A. Bottringer from Haven, Kansas. And it only has 4 ingredients: milk, fat, flour, and salt. So a very humble soup, and I was curious about the origins of this soup, so I did some research, and there seems to be lots of variations. It seems that this might have come from the Alsace region of France, which is near Germany, or Switzerland, the Basel area, because there are variations of this kinds of soup there. In Switzerland, they call it Basler Mehlsuppe, which means Basel gruel, because this is found in the Basel region of Switzerland. I've also seen a French version from the Alsace region. I've seen an Italian version. So this idea of using flour to make soup is well known in many different parts of the world, and it seems to make a hearty soup with very, very little ingredients. So today I'm going to be following the recipe from this book, which only contains 4 ingredients, but the other variations that I spoke about earlier have slight differences in terms of they might contain beef broth, they might have a bit of wine, they might have a bit of onion or bacon fat, all those kind of regional differences, or ultimately what you have on hand. But let's go ahead and make toast flour soup. So all of these recipes have this in common. You need a heavy bottom saucepan, something nice and large, because we're making a soup after all. And we're going to put it on medium heat, and we're going to toast some flour, plain old flour, and toast this up until it gets lightly browned. Now, I did find some recipes that called this browned or burnt flour soup, and I don't think it actually gets burnt. It just gets very well toasted. Now, surprisingly, this toasting process adds a ton of flavor, a ton of nuttiness, so it should not be skipped. And some recipes just toast the flour plain like this, and others, like this one, say add the fat now. So I'm adding 2 tablespoons of butter. So this fat could be butter, could be bacon drippings, could be lard. This, of course, will add some richness. Now, we are essentially making a roux here, which is flour and some kind of fat. Now, this adds, as I said, a ton of flavor, the toasting process, but it will also thicken our soup, the starch. So we want to stir this pretty much constantly because we don't want to burn the flour. Also, we want it to toast evenly. So I'm using the enameled cast iron pan, which is great for distributing heat and also retaining heat, which is great for processes like this where we're trying to toast the flour here. Behind me, I've got some milk that I'm warming up on low. Because we are going to add milk to this, we want the milk to be nice and warm when we do so. So I first learned about the power of roux from making another soup recipe, which is for a tomato soup. And you make a roux just like I'm making now, less flour than this, just a couple tablespoons, but you want to get it nice and toasty, and that adds so much flavor. Then you just add tomato juice, salt, a little bit of brown sugar. It's my favorite tomato soup recipe, so simple, but this toasting of the roux does take some time, but it's so very worth it. So depending on how dark and toasty and nutty you get your roux, the more flavor it will add to your dish. So if you're making something like a gumbo, which has a very dark roux, it adds a ton of flavor. It does take some time though, so be patient, take the time to do it. It's very much worth it. All right, I'm gonna keep toasting this and turn this off momentito. Now my flour is getting nice and toasty, and I see why they ask you to stir this constantly, because once it starts get going, it really does get going. So now we are going to add the milk that we heated up. Not till the boiling is probably like kind of scalded. Now I'm going to slowly add my warmed up milk, whisking that in. And immediately it's thickening and getting lumpy, which is kind of worrisome, but when you make gravy, this happens too. Now in the French version of this, they add some cream or crème fraîche, which is kind of like a sour cream. And in the Swiss version I saw they add cheese, lots of lovely cheese. It didn't say anything about lumping in the recipe. Recipe instructions were very, very brief. As were many historical recipes. It was assumed that the cook knew what they were doing. But we want to get this to a full boil. It says to boil it for 5 minutes, and that will ensure that the full thickening power of the flour has been harnessed. All right, now I'm going to add some salt. It says salt to taste. So I'll add a healthy pinch and some black pepper. Lots of black pepper, actually, because I love black pepper. I suppose white pepper might be good for this application. And because I'm wearing glasses today, and inevitably somebody asks what I'm wearing and where I got them, I got my glasses from glassesusa.com, and I will put a link down below. Alrighty, so this is coming to a full hard boil. I'm going to reduce it down a little bit. The lumps are still in there, but they're not too bad. So in case this needs it, I'm going to add a little bit more milk or water to this to thin it down. And to calm the boiling down. All right, my lovelies, the flour soup is complete. It came together super quickly and it is very thick. And it reminds me in terms of texture and both how it looks, a lot of canned cream of mushroom soup. I used to eat that stuff concentrated right out of the can, just little tiny nibbles. My mom would occasionally make it for us, but she would make the soup version with, you know, a can of milk. But I always loved just having a little nibble of it, the kind of jellied, concentrated stuff before she actually cooked it. I don't know why, but that's what this reminds me of. And I would imagine that this would make a beautiful base for a homemade version of cream of mushroom soup. Just add some mushrooms. But let me taste it first so we can confirm that. So look how thick it is. See? If you want it thinner, of course, by all means, add more stock or more milk. And I'm going to serve up a little bowl of it. Alrighty, let's go ahead and give the flour soup a taste. Here it is. Look how much it thickened. And I definitely have lumps. Perhaps my milk could have been hotter and I could have avoided that lumpage. Whenever I make gravy, I don't know, I tried to whisk quickly. At any rate, I think that's more an aesthetic thing rather than a taste or flavor thing. And let's give it a taste. Here we go. Itadakimasu. And it is kind of similar to cream of mushroom soup without that kind of tinned canned flavor and all the sodium. It's not nearly as salty. Oh, I'm going to sneeze. Black pepper. Whew. I love sneezing. Doesn't it feel great? But yeah, it's not half bad. It's a little bit sweet. And that must be from the milk. Oh, I use lactose-free milk. I'm lactose intolerant. And that milk to me tends to be a little bit sweeter. So I do taste a little bit of sweetness. And I think this would be especially good made with bacon fat. Then you get some of that smokiness, a little bit of porkiness. But as it is, it's pretty good. Very stick to your ribs. Very, very simple and humble meal. Toast flour soup. Alrighty, my lovies, there you have it. Toast flour soup, burnt flour soup. It's actually quite delicious, super easy to make, very economical, and it could be a springboard to other recipes as well. You could use this to make your own homemade cream of mushroom soup. You could add it to casseroles to thicken dishes as well, but It's absolutely delicious and simple and very, very inexpensive. All right, my lovelies, thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that one. I hope you learned something. Oh, check out my Hard Times playlist. I have lots of recipes that are historical, that came out of times of difficulty. Lots of inspiration there, so I'll put that playlist down below in case you're interested. So like this video, subscribe, and check out my website. I'll include a printable version of this recipe, and I shall see you in the next one. Toodaloo, take care, bye! More pepper, always more pepper. Oh, maybe it'll make me sneeze again.